Right. So we charge the rental car companies that operate service.
Oh, you did?
Right.
Structure. So they're not actually renting space.
Okay.
CFC.
We might have to have a chat, just so I understand and see where we might need to go. Sis,
Yeah, we got through that. That's
I'm gonna move here out of this.
yeah. We might have to. Okay,
Take
yeah,
the back of Bright's chair.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
yeah.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to start off with county commissioners. Brooke?
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call to order the March 22nd meeting of the County Commissioners. And I'm announcing that the County Commission meeting is being audio and video recorded. And on to item 3, public comment. Is there any public comment related to county business that is not on the current county agenda? Any hands raised in the room? Okay, seeing none. Is there any new business?
No.
Hearing none. The next item on the agenda is approval of minutes and payroll and treasury warrants. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor by roll call vote. Matt Fee,
Aye.
Malcolm McNabb,
Aye.
Jason Bridges,
Aye.
Don Holgate,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. So that's unanimous. The next item on the agenda is a request for approval and execution of assent to petition for approval. My computer is acting weird. Of a plan to recognize the 1975 order of taking of Old South Road and approve registration of a subdivision plan of lot 29, showing lots 1140 and 1141 on land court plan number 16514-154 for 111 Old South Road. And I'd like to ask Ken Bogrand to present that for us, if he would.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman. I have reviewed this matter with Town Council, and she is of the opinion that this documentation does not adversely affect the county's ownership of the fee in Old South Road, nor does it change the lines of the taking of Old South Road, nor does it change its use as a public way. She has reviewed the form of the assent and recommends its execution, and therefore I would ask that the county commissioners, in fact, pass the resolution to approve the form of the assent and execute the assent. Be happy to
Okay.
answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the commissioners?
Motion to
Here-
approve. the consent.
There we go. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, and who was the second?
Matt?
Matt. Okay, thanks, Matt. By roll call vote, Matt Fee,
Aye.
Malcolm McNabb,
Aye.
Jason Bridges,
Aye.
Don Holgate,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Are there any commissioner reports or comments?
Nope.
Motion to
Hearing
adjourn.
none.
Second.
Okay, by roll call vote, Matt Fee,
Aye.
Malcolm McNabb,
Aye.
Jason Bridges,
Aye.
Don Holgate,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye, so that's unanimous. Okay, on to select board. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Brooke. It's funny doing roll call from, you're the only one that's remote. That was fun.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll call the March 22nd Select Board meeting to order. No major changes to the agenda. Announcements, Libby?
Sorry. We just have, this meeting is being video and audio recorded. There's no board meeting next week, March 29th, due to it being the 5th Wednesday. The next board meeting will be on Wednesday, April 5th. And that's it. I believe.
Okay, thank you, Libby. Any Select Board comments or announcements to start off with? Anybody? Brooke? I just had one thing. I wanted to address Ms. Perry's multiple inquiries on what is the select board doing about the missed email with Surfside Crossing. And I just wanted to address it again. We kind of addressed it that one night at the very end of the meeting, which we sent to Ms. Perry, but it wasn't sufficient enough. So I just want to review what town administration had done and just see where everybody wants to go from there. So they followed up with town staff, and the town manager reported this, but they followed up with town staff as to the receipt of the email in question. They notified National Heritage to get correct email addresses on. But I think the bigger, most important part is they notified all departments when in receipt of a state permit of any kind, it must be forwarded to town administration, and that has all been done. So it's been talked about at the all department levels. I think the question is the select board going to put in a policy or some kind of action plan? And so I just wanted to check with you all if that is sufficient enough for you, or if you want something else done.
I mean, I feel like staff-related issues and management falls to the town manager, and it would be a little bit of an overstep for us to insert ourselves in employee protocols.
Thank you, Don.
I think any policy we made would probably mimic what town administration has done.
Jason, if I may.
Yep. Sorry. Go ahead, Brooke.
Yeah, I would agree with both Don and Malcolm that I feel that the follow-up, I feel pretty strongly that circumstances were unique in this case, and they did highlight a potential gap in how things are handled. And I believe that the town manager's done a good job to follow up, to do our best to ensure that this same thing doesn't happen again in the future. So I'm comfortable with what has already happened.
Yeah.
I'm struggling. I'm not struggling. I think, how do I say this? This was the second issue that happened in the course of this whole, there was a hearing that I think it was Megan brought to our attention that I think we were going to miss, that she brought, and we got it all together in a day or so. And that was a couple of years ago. And so the part of the problem I think here sometimes is, partly from a staffing issue, partly from a everyone's so busy issue. Sometimes someone doesn't really own it. And we have 3 or 4 owners and there's nobody who owns it. And I think, so we could make whatever, I agree, we could make whatever policies we want, but those will not work if it's, if people are overwhelmed and if it's, it's sort of like, anyway, I'm sort of struggling a bit. I think that I think it was a serious mess up, and I'm worried that it will happen again. But I'm not sure that a policy is going to stop it from happening. So that's where I'm kind of torn, because I'm not sure how to stop that kind of thing from happening, faced with what we face right now. We are under siege, and the staff is under siege. There's so much to do, and there's so little time, and it's so hard to hire people that, and we can say we have to, I don't know the answer, if it were my business, I'd prioritize, and, you only do the most critical things, but how do you even do that? So I think we're facing, I don't think this is going away. I think we're facing some pretty serious issues. And so, I see we're going to move on tonight, but I think we have to, as a board, be thinking about how are we going to prioritize so that we have, enough places for people to live and enough staff and the ability to handle, sort of what is coming at us, and what is not even coming at us, it's coming at them. And I think that is the sort of, so we, so I don't think it's as easy as sort of, anyway, an email and a reminder, oh, don't do that again, because I think anyway, that's all.
My opinion is similar to some others where I think it's been worked out. I think it's been highlighted that this was a miss and nobody intentionally wanted to do it. And I think what the measures have been put in place will make sure it doesn't happen again. Of course, there's always human error, but I'm sufficient with what the town manager has put in place. I don't think we need to do a policy or action plan. I heard that from four of the members, and Matt, you're kind of on the fence. So are we all okay with moving forward? And
Yeah.
Malcolm? Okay. All right. Thank you. I probably should put that in follow-up comments from the prior select board meeting. That's the next one. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. There's no follow-up comments from prior select board meetings. We go to public comment for items that are not on the agenda. Anybody here? Nope. Can we go to Ms. Perry?
Thank you, Jason. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you guys for finally discussing that. All the public comments that I brought up in the past. Sorry to say, but I still think something else other than an email needs to be done. And I kind of agree with what Matt said. And along those lines, I believe it was the wind farm discussion where it was brought up that you have leverage until you don't have leverage. Here's a prime example of where the town has lost a lot of leverage in a taxpayer funded lawsuit that a lot of time, effort, money has been given to. I worry about the next hiccup, the next human error, especially when this went to 3 different departments. So it's not just one human error. And that is why I keep calling in and keep asking for something other than an email going out saying, this won't happen again. It's going to happen again. And I'd like to try to prevent that from happening again. So that's my comment on that. And then I do have a question. I know you want to answer questions at public comment. However, could I get a copy of what was sent out to departments regarding this and or staff, or would you prefer I put it in the form of an official FOIA? Is it okay to ask for it tonight at the meeting?
I'll talk to the town manager. We'll get that to you.
Okay. Do you want me to put in an official FOIA for it, or do you want me to? What would you like me to do?
I don't think that's necessary.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other public comment tonight for items not on the agenda? Tucker Holland. Online.
Hi, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to announce that there are 60 Nantucketers, including a contingent of Cyrus Pierce Civic students, headed to the State House tomorrow in support of the transfer fee, and will be joined by over 200 folks from the Vineyard. So we're looking forward to kind of a great day and a lot of attention focused on this very important measure, which the island has been seeking for a number of years now. So I just want to, in some sense, thank everyone in advance who is planning on joining us tomorrow. Thank you.
Thanks, Tucker. I can't wait to see the pictures from that. It's going to be pretty impressive. Okay, any other public comment tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on. There's no new business. For the minutes, we're only going to do 2 of those. Could I get approval of minutes of March 8th and March 9th?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor by roll call? Brooke?
Aye.
Dawn?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Jason, aye. And March 15th will come on our next meeting in April. Approval of payroll warrants, treasury warrants. Yeah, just do those 2.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor by roll call? Dawn?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Those 2 pass unanimously. Pending
Jason?
contracts. Oh, yep, Brooke.
Yeah, I would make a motion for pending contracts with the exception of the one for Process First. I have a business relationship with Process First through a nonprofit where I sit on the board. So I would move approval of all pending contracts with the exception of Process First for a separate motion that I can recuse from for that one.
Okay, is there a second for discussion?
Second.
Any discussion on any of those items outside of Process First?
One thing, it's pretty amazing. Sanborn Map Company is still, like, when you go into the Historical Association, you're looking at the old maps with Sanborn maps, and they're still doing it. I think that's pretty neat.
Okay. All those in favor? We'll start with Brooke.
Aye.
Dawn?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, so Brooke is going to recuse from Process First contract. Any questions or motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor, Don,
Aye.
Malcolm,
Aye.
Matt, and Jason, aye. That carries. Thank you. Reports, project update on the Surfside area, water service and transportation enhancements.
Should I just go? Should I just go, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, go ahead, Greg. I wasn't sure if you were going to open or Libby.
Oh, sure. I was waiting for some grand introduction. Sorry. Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair and board. Tonight, we're going to give an update on the pretty large projects that are occurring west of Nantucket Memorial Airport. This is the seventh time we've come before the board to discuss the state fund loan refunded water main project, and the fourth time we've come before the board as a group for the roadway and bike path project in that same area. You have the information from the last time we got together for a full update, which was last July. And so I won't, go into full detail because you guys are fully aware of the project. So this is a status update. With us this evening, we do have the overall project manager for all the projects to make sure that they are working concurrently and are fully integrated, and that is Chark Larson, the town's manager of strategic plans, strategic projects. We also have other members of the project team, such as Erica Mooney, the operations administrator, and we have Ken Bogrant, who has been working on for all of our easements, and I believe we might have Richard Moore on the Zoom too from DPW, but there are many other members. We also have our project managers for the specific projects, which again are two separate projects. It's the water main project that is being funded by the state revolving fund loan, which is a voluntary project from the town, an initiative in response to potential PFAS in that area. And then there's another project that affects all the same roads for the most part, but with a road reconstruction, drainage, and bike path project. So we have with us this evening Andy Miller from CDM Smith, who is the project manager for the water main project, as well as Brian Myers from GPI, who is one of the project managers for the roadway project. So unless you have questions, I'm just going to kick it right over to Andy Miller from CDM Smith.
Thanks, Greg.
It's Erica. I have a question for Andy and Brian, if they want me to share my screen, or are they going to do it themselves?
Oh,
I have it ready if you want me to.
Yeah, no, if you can do it, I think that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you, Erica. Good evening, everyone. Yep, there it is. Okay. All right, this is the project update. Yep, we can go to this next one. So I'm going to touch upon the objective for the water main, which we've talked with you all about before. Some of the easement requirements we have run into that are being addressed, associated paving and drainage that we're undertaking as part of the water main job in coordination with GPI's work, some other considerations, and our anticipated next steps. On this map here, again, I think you've all seen it before, but the area of the water mains is just west of the airport, in the area extending between Lovers Lane and Montahanset Road, Orcawar Ave to the south, and then it includes up to Skyline, and then it includes Novadear. So if we go to the next slide. Great. So here again is a blow up of the area. The water mains going where the green lines are. The purpose, again, as Greg mentioned, is to extend water service to homes with domestic wells that have been impacted or might be impacted by PFAS. And we're talking about a total of approximately 14,000 linear feet of water main with the associated valves and hydrants, water surfaces, all the appurtenances. As I mentioned, there's some road construction and associated drainage that will be has been incorporated into the design. As Greg mentioned, it's being funded under the Drinking Water State Revolving Loan Fund. We're on the list for 8.4 million. The final number will be determined once bidding is complete. It is a 0% interest rate loan. And I might add that we've also been successful in incorporating the design costs into that loan. So I think that's a benefit for the town. And of course, we're proceeding in conjunction with the Surfside Road improvement project that GPI is working on.
If we go to the next slide, early on, we realized that some of the roads are owned by the towns, but others are private ways. And SRF does have a requirement that the town must own or have easements on all roads where work is occurring. Of course, it's good practice for municipal installed utilities to have an easement anyway. The town-owned roads are in green on this drawing: Lovers Lane, Orkawa, and Montahasset. The private roads are in red, and that's Skyline, Webster, and the extensions on both Orkawa Road and Montahasset. So we've been working with Erica and the town's team to get easements in place. Those are in process. And there is a planned vote at annual town meeting on May 6th for the taking of easements. DEP is well aware of this relative to the SRF program. So we've been working to coordinate all of that. And then once that's done, we'll be able to incorporate those roads formally into the SRF project. And then it's expected that we've been told by town council it might be early June when the actual easements will be in place. We're also spent some time looking at existing road conditions. These are photos that you might recall were presented in a previous presentation by CDM Smith. You can see these four roads here are dirt roads. The extension certainly, Skyline Drive is in tough shape. Webster Road, a little bit better shape, but needs some work. So in the next slide, we've worked with Chuck and Greg to develop a fairly rigorous paving schedule. You don't need to, the detail here is not in the table. That's just a table actually that's in the spec to indicate the level of detail. But if you're interested, this tells us the type of road reconstruction plan for each of these roads. So Lovers Lane, for instance, will remain, the yellow piece will remain unpaved as GPI's design is going to come in and finalize that road later on as part of the road and bike path project. The orange there for Orkawa and the remainder of Lovers Lane will be just permanent trench with pavement for the time being, because again, that's part of GPI's project. I'm sure Brian will be talking about that. The same for Montahasset. The extensions are unpaved now and will remain unpaved. The red line, which is Skyline, that's intended to be reconstructed with full depth road pavement. So it will look like what the other portion of Skyline Road looks like. And then Webster will be returned to condition with a milling and surface course overlay, as will Nobadir up in the far upper right corner of the photo there. Yes. So that's the plan for the roads. I should also mention that we're also addressing drainage improvements on Skyline and Nobadir Way. Next. And so other considerations that have come into play as we've been moving forward with the design and working with the town and GPI, significant issues and supply chain issues. So all the pipe valves, hydrants have been pre-procured. There's been actually 2 pre-procurement efforts. A lot of the materials have already been delivered to the water department with more on their way. So that's moving forward well. We've had to coordinate with the airport for a few, I think 2 water main connections. So we've worked with NOAA on that. We have been considering the need for soil management relative to the potential of PFAS impacted soils being encountered during the water main construction, in particular in Montahasset, possibly in Nobadir, and possibly on the Orkawa extension. And of course, as I've already mentioned, we've been coordinating with the town and other consultants just to make sure this all comes together properly. The idea being, a full road program reconstruction, at the end of the day, once the water main's in and after GPI is complete. The next slide. And so where are we now and next steps? Bidding is actually in process. We have SRF approval to proceed with bidding. As I mentioned, easements are expected to be completed in June, assuming town meeting approval in May. We will open bids and then need DEP approval, final SRF approval to award and execute that contract. Our date for execution needs to be by August 31 of this year. And then anticipating construction in the fall with completion in the spring. So that wraps up the CDM Smith presentation fairly quick. It's up to you, Greg, if we take questions now or you want GPI to speak and then do questions.
I think we should continue through with the whole presentation and see if the board has any questions about the entire multitude of projects. So Brian, you're up.
Okay, sounds good. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Brian.
Great. All right, so this is the roadway portion of the project here. I'm just going to go over a quick recap of the project scope, provide some updates on the design, and then get into the next steps as we move towards bidding. So the project includes the reconstruction of all of Lovers Lane. That's from Boulevard all the way to Old South Road. Also includes Orcoa from Lovers Lane to Monahans, and a section of Monahans all the way to the airport entrance. It's highlighted there. There's going to be some side paths that will be constructed along all 3 of the roadways. Drainage will be improved by installing a closed drainage system, catch basins, manholes, pipes throughout the 3 roadways. They will outfall at infiltration chamber locations along all 3 of the roadways. So utilities will be relocated along the corridors. Go ahead and switch. So here are some typical sections of Lovers Lane. These are depicted as if you would be driving north along Lovers Lane, so facing north. If you bring your attention to the upper one, this shows the section from Boulevard all the way to Rugged Road. The existing dirt road will become a paved 20-foot roadway with hot mix asphalt berms on either side. It'll be separated, and a 6-foot vegetated buffer will separate it from the 10-foot side path, which will be on the west side of Lovers Lane. So the image below is a section. This is the section area of the DCR owned state forest. And this would be from Rugged Road all the way up to Old South Road. And as you could see, the roadway section stays the same. There'll be a larger separation between the path and Lovers Lane due to the path being constructed along the footpath within the state forest. You can see that on the left there. Next slide. And this is a typical section of both Orcoa and Monahans. We're only dealing with 40 feet of roadway layout here. Like Lovers Lane, this is a 20-foot road with 2 hot mix asphalt berms on either side. For this one, there's a 5-foot vegetated buffer separating the 10-foot side path. On Orcoa, path will be on the south side. Monahans, it will be east of Monahans, so the right side if you're headed north. Next slide. So since our last select board meeting, we've been progressing the design. Have some updates here on these items. Drainage design, we've done our subsurface investigation by performing test pits and borings along various locations along all 3 roadways. We've looked into and developed some traffic calming measures along Lovers Lane. We're proposing 2 raised intersections and a median island as part of that design. As a result of progressing the design we have a clearer picture of the permanent and temporary impacts to private property here. We also have some updates on the DCR construction access permit, Mass Endangered Species Act, and this Historical Commission permitting. Next slide. So as I mentioned before, we'll be installing infiltration chambers along Lovers Lane, Orkawa, and Monahans to outlet the runoff collected from the roadways. The yellow rectangles depicted in the image to the right are the locations we are investigating to install the chambers. Next slide. So as a part of our effort to identify suitable locations for these chambers, we've done some subsurface investigation. A large part of the design of the chambers is dependent on identifying the characteristics of the existing soil. In January, we went out and we did 17 test pits along all 3 of the roadways. This just involved digging down about 10 feet with an excavator, observing the types of soils and identifying indications of high groundwater, seasonal high groundwater. And then more recently, earlier this month, actually, we performed 8 borings, installed 6 monitoring wells for the project. What we get from this data is soil classification and certain soil properties. And the monitoring wells will provide us an opportunity to observe the groundwater levels over a period of time. Next slide. So we've heard past public meetings that speed is a concern along Lovers Lane. So to mitigate the speeding concerns, and with input from the Traffic and Safety Committee, we've developed some traffic calming measures. The image on the left here at Lovers Lane at Orkawa, we're proposing a raised intersection. Both the Lovers Lane and Orkawa approaches will ramp up total of 6 inches, and vertical 6 inches will be throughout the whole intersection. This is also a location where we have a pedestrian bike crossing. We have a side path on the west side of Lovers Lane. We connected to the Orkawa side path, which is actually on the south side there. So the image on the right, we're proposing a raised intersection at Rugged Road as well. So just like the Orkawa approaches, Lovers and Rugged will ramp up to the vertical 6 inches to be the raised portion of the intersection. We're also shifting Rugged a bit at this location, and that's mainly so we can better accommodate bringing the path from the DCR property out along the north side of Rugged Road, so we can have a better crossing at the intersection of Lovers. Next slide. Thanks. So further north along Lovers Lane, over near Nancy Ann Lane, we're proposing a 6-foot wide raised landscape meeting island. So this is intended to serve as kind of a gateway into the neighborhood and slowing vehicles down, especially coming from the north. Next slide. So at this stage, we've identified all the locations of permanent and temporary easements. Permanent easements are needed on private property for one of the infiltration chamber locations, as well as access to the structure for maintenance. Also, a permanent easement is needed due to the narrow roadway layout near the airport on Monahans. We've also identified temporary impacts that will be needed to be coordinated with property owners due to slope grading and then just driveway grading. A portion of the side path along Lovers will be constructed down the existing footpath, as I mentioned before, within the DCR and state forest land. In order to facilitate this, a DCR construction access permit is needed. Next slide. So we're in the final stages here of this DCR construction access approval, and we'd anticipate it being approved in the next couple months. And both MESA and MHC have made a determination, and the project will not impact rare species or have any significant impacts to historical resources. Next. And here's a little timeline for the project. Lovers Lane portion was submitted the 25% level back in November 2021. Presented to the select board in July 22. Again, in October 2022, we had our public informational meeting this past December, and we anticipate final design of all 3 roadways to be finished by the summer of this year, 2023, and would anticipate construction as early as this fall, if possible. So, and that's all we have here.
Thank you very much, Brian. Mr. Chair, are there any questions regarding the project? It's been in the works now for, well over a year, and a lot of work's been done. And I did neglect to mention, we did have a public outreach session on December 8th with the abutters in the community room. And we did attend a traffic safety advisory group specifically about traffic calming.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Brian. Matt?
Yeah, Greg, I think it seems you've taken the width of the road down a little bit, which is a good thing. The question I had, did you incorporate, and I like the traffic calming, did you incorporate side of the road parking near the disc golf course? It already kind of happens now when they're busy. And so if we put a 4-foot grass berm, that's going to just end up being parked on fairly often anyway. So when you're designing it, even if we're not building, tarred parking, we may want to gravel or do something there because it's going to happen anyhow. So, but I guess we had talked about it. Was that something you guys considered during these discussions?
It definitely hasn't come up unless, Brian, you know of any time it was brought up. And there may be an easement issue that we'd have to look into, Matt, with the state forest, which would involve Ken. But anything, Brian? I don't remember bringing that up at all.
I think we may be able to look into it a little bit. I think, Greg, you're right, along the DCR state forest, that would be, we'd have to go through DCR and go through that whole process. The area in front of the, there's an area that the town owns.
Right.
So in front of that, there's certainly a possibility.
I've brought it up. Sorry, I brought it up previously, and I know it's going to just happen anyway. So it may be one of those on the site when you're doing the work, you just don't make that a 4-foot angled berm. You make, it's going to happen anyhow. But I brought it up at a previous meeting, and I'm just, following up. Thank you.
We definitely will look into it. We have 3 separate meetings weekly about the project, so we'll bring it up tomorrow afternoon. But thanks, Matt. I must admit, I forgot.
One thing that I will mention is that we are that I didn't before is part of this path through the DCR forest in that town portion. We're increasing the size of that disc golf parking lot. We're increasing it. We're doubling it. So that's. But I know you're talking a little more about sort of traffic calming and how that would sort of help with traffic calming. But I thought I'd mention.
Oh, excuse me. If you're doubling it, that may do it. But you would still think about it when they have their tournament or they're busy, there's a lot of cars
Right.
spill out onto the road now.
Yeah, they'll definitely park on the berm. We'll discuss it with GPI, in respects to drainage and how the berm is going to help direct water and everything and figure it out.
Thanks.
Thank you, Matt. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Greg. Next time I'll
Thank
give
you.
you a better introduction.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks.
And I don't want to be negative, but I see all those extra roads and I see all the extra drainage and I wonder how we're going to take care of it all. But that's, I look at that and I go, oh my God, but we will.
And the maintenance plan has definitely been addressed in every one of our meetings usually, and we do have DPW representation there. And also I want to point out, he's not on tonight, but Thomas Michael Burns is back. Mike Burns is back as transportation planner, so he's going to be involved in some of these design aspects too, especially the traffic calming. And that's it.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks.
Move
all.
on to Citizen Department Committee request. First one is an applicant introduction and appointment to Council on Aging. Hey there, Rocky.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
So
Why don't you just introduce yourself, Rocky, and tell us why you want to be on the committee?
Hi, my name is Rocky Fox. And I wanted to be on this committee because in my 25 years of working with the elderly, I think it's not their choice. They don't have a voice. So if I have to be the voice for them, I will. I've been working with elder services for 25 plus years doing Meals on Wheels. I am now working with Pascon and I have 2 patients at the Island Home. And I am my seat on the school committee. 1 second. My seat on the school committee is coming to an end. And this is of all the commissions or committees I've been on, this is the first one I get to actually choose to be on. I have a hard time saying no. So I haven't said no in a lot of years. And since I have time to do it, I will be doing that. And I'll also be getting appointed in April to the Disability Commission as well.
thank you, Rocky. Erica, when is this? Is this happening in 2 or 3 weeks? Can you remind me of the process?
Tonight.
Oh, this
You're
is it.
making the appointment tonight.
Okay. It happens.
This was the abbreviated process because you
Oh,
had
it's
just gone
abbreviated.
through the
Okay.
whole thing last.
Got it.
Make a
Okay.
motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor by roll call? Don?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Jason, aye. Thank you, Rocky, for your service and everything you do for this community. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
In the early 2000s, I saw an article where Rocky was talking about Meals on Wheels and doing things for elder services, and that inspired me to do Meals on Wheels. So thank you, Rocky.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, licensing office. Amy, did you want to move right up to the Chamber of Commerce and Daphne?
Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
great. So this evening, we have our yearly request for Daffodil. I'll kind of review that quickly and also have Peter Burke here from the Chamber too to answer any questions about this year's festival and that sort. So 2 things we ask you. One, we ask you to sign yearly the Mass DOT form that we send because the parade is on a state highway. So that's administrative tasks that we ask you to sign off on, as well as police, fire, and the state police sign off on that as well for the car parade down to Sconset. Secondly, request yearly for that Sconset picnic. We asked the select board to, in the public assembly permit request, a 1-day waiver of chapter 54, section 1C, as they've done in the past. And this allows for the public consumption of alcohol on that location, as normally that would not be allowed. So we request that waiver each year. And that is what will require a vote in this request. Secondly, just an update, as we've talked about in the past, we've been working with the chamber on this event is because it's become obviously much bigger. There had been issues with a lot of commercial activity taking place with I liquor distributor one year with a bar set up and handing out liquor and different commercial things. Last year was chips, whatever. So, and obviously, and also being aware that this is sponsored by a business group, we want to certainly support businesses. So Peter and Bianca have been great. I think we've been collaborating well on that to address some of those things. And obviously it's too big now to do the old, oh, we'll let a car here or there through because they're going to a party down the street, things like that, that we need to watch out for public safety. So those things kind of need to be adjusted as well. So we've been going along on that. So feel very good about that. The collaboration has been great. Last year was Peter's first as head of the chamber and Bianca's, and went well. We had a lot of good drone footage to review, so we knew kind of what was going on where, which was very helpful. So we'll ask those two things, and certainly if Peter wants to speak or any questions you all have about the festival coming up. Thanks.
I am happy to, Peter Burke from the Chamber of Commerce. I am happy to answer any questions. Just echoing what Amy said, obviously it was a great learning experience for me personally last year, for the members of our organization on how to, execute a safe and fun event for everybody. That's obviously priority number one for us. We understand we want to keep having this event. That only makes sense if we do it right every time. So big thanks to Amy and her team, as well as the fire department for having the recap meeting last year, which obviously started setting the table for this year. So no event will be perfect. Every year there's always things that come up, but we do our best to plan and to mitigate any major issues. So I look forward to having another great Daffy, and I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Thank you, Peter. I just want full disclosure. The organization I work for is a member of the chamber, and we do advertising with them. I checked. I don't need to recuse, but I thought I would just disclose.
Right.
Any comments or questions? Nope.
Motion to approve A and B.
Second.
Second.
Okay, Matt had the second by roll call. Don?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Jason, aye. A and B are approved.
Thank you very much,
you,
and thank you for accommodating the move in the schedule.
Thank you. Have a good trip. Okay. So we are on to seasonal renewals. As you know, we do our annual renewals in December for most licenses. In March is the time that we renew seasonal liquor licenses. Seasonal liquor licenses are valid from April 1st to January the 15th or any portion thereof. We included a list there of renewals and non-renewals. And Erica, can you put that list up? I just want to see real quick.
The full list of,
Actually, never mind. It's
Which
coming
one?
up. Okay, never mind. I have it here. We are not renewing as we did Club Car and After House. Both have already applied for new licenses for those locations. So those are the only two right now. Again, a reminder that what this does is accept in an administrative fashion the renewals for the season. To issue a license, that obviously requires inspections, payments, and other things. One note is that we had to do this early because we don't have a meeting next week. They're required to complete the renewals, sign the forms, and pay by March 31st. There's a couple outstanding. If they do not do so, after notice, I'll be back to non-renew those licenses. We can't keep making that exception. Most have done great, but we do have a couple, and remind them that that's due next Friday at 4 p.m. So I'll take any questions on that. Again, it's just a vote for acceptance of the renewal and non-renewal licenses for this year. Any questions?
seasonal population too.
Should I do that separate vote?
The seasonal population is first, and then
Okay.
renewal is second.
Whoopsie, sorry.
That's all right.
Okay, so along with seasonal renewal period, we also do the vote each year for the seasonal population that we estimate as of July 1st of the year. As I've included in the packet, as we have in the past, is the data platform report that we've been kind of working off of the past few years that had set the seasonal estimate at approximately 45,000 people. Based on a lot of things, the travel reports, cell phone usage and such. In the past year or two, that has gone up. They had an update to the report that said the summer population can be as high as 65,000. Again, there's a couple things I want to say here as far as what this means, especially I think, Malcolm, this would be your first year and understand kind of what the quota is. We do have a quota on both annual and seasonal package store licenses, any off-premise licenses. We are currently full for annuals. We have none to give out, and we're actually 2 over, and that is set by the census every 10 years. The census this year did not increase enough for us to add any licenses, so we have no annual package stores left to give. As we estimate seasonal population, it's 1 per every 5,000, and they don't discriminate against all alcohol or wine and malt. As we have estimated at 45,000, we have only 1 left to give if we continue to do that. If we decide to increase the population for every 5,000 would add an additional license that would be available. Doesn't mean it automatically gives it out. It'd mean it would be available. So a couple items to consider here. I have talked to the ABCC about this in the past as far as what we're required to do. And they said, if you feel you're where you need to be and there doesn't need to be availability of more, you can continue to set it at that number. You don't need to increase for any reason. And I hesitate to increase because the past year or 2 were not normal. We don't know if that's going to continue. And I think that includes a lot of day people or people coming over the day that aren't here. So I don't know that that is exactly enough reason right now to increase it. So increasing it to the 65,000 would add, was it 5 more licenses? So the other thing to consider too is if we do stay at 45,000, we have 1 available. I've had multiple requests for it, so I have to look with legal as far as how we would go about that request. So I'll leave it there for right now. See if there's any questions.
Let's take on the seasonal first. Any thoughts, comments?
Make a motion to approve that.
To keep it at 45?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best estimation we can make. So.
Okay. All those in favor by roll call? Don?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And Jason, aye. So that's the seasonal population. And then seasonal liquor license. Anything else to add? Or are you okay for a vote?
Nope, that was yes.
Okay. Anything else?
Move approval for the season.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Don?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And Jason, aye. That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Dorothy, you're up. Human Services CRC Contract Review Committee, review of recommendations for allocation of Health and Human Services funding for FY24. Fairwinds is a recipient of this, so I'm going to step away. Even though it's not an approval, but just if there's discussion, then I'll just step away.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I'm hoping that you all have a chance to read the report because I think it sums up the reasoning behind what we've picked this year. We got a total for the human service grant, not the cannabis grant. We got a total of $840,514 in requests, which stands about the same norm in above where we were last year in the same percentage was. Doing this process, we looked at outcomes instead of necessarily all the services rendered, but outcomes as well. And all the recipients on this have been holding contracts with us. There's a couple of new ones that submitted. We did not accept Habitat for Humanity. We felt it did not fit into the criteria of a human service as it was just an HVAC system for a house. So it didn't fit into the criteria of actually helping the community at large. The other was Addiction Solutions, which we actually moved to the cannabis grant. We asked them to move it over to the cannabis grant where it fit in more smoothly. One of the things I would like to report on this year is that we're really excited about the collaboration that's been going on between Fairwinds and what's called the Behavioral Health Initiative. Within the community. It is something that we've been looking and sort of pushing towards is more collaboration. So we've noted that in the report because we believe that is one of the key ways of getting these services to be stronger within the community is working together. So we're really proud of that. As you can see, I think if you have questions, I can answer them because I really think that the report really tells you
Yeah.
where we went.
Yeah, I think I'm impressed. I think every year you come, the report is really good. I particularly like that you follow up, on a quarterly basis with everybody and that you sort of improve year to year. It's impressive. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Matt. It's a lot of work.
I can tell it is, but I can tell that you do it.
Yeah.
And that's,
Yeah. I would just like to add, I think the report is absolutely excellent.
Thank you.
And I think you should, perhaps one of the local newspapers should actually publish it, because I think kind of summarizes some of the issues of the island quite succinctly. And you did answer my question about Habitat for Humanity. So thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So if there are no other questions,
Yeah. As always,
Yeah.
you're all very thorough and doing a great job.
Thank you.
If I may add my words of gratitude and support, it was really nice to see you in Hyannis this afternoon. And thank you for all the work and for all the members of the CRC, having served on that for a couple of years. It's an exhaustive process, and the community should be grateful to all of you for the time you put in to vet these applications.
Thank you. Okay, so going on to the cannabis, we had applications worth 403,000. Of course, that's 175,000 award to us. We awarded it to all 4 recipients that came in. One to the peer recovery program at Fair Winds, which has been very successful. The other to Addiction Solutions, which is Tim Lepres, and to NAMI and to Health Imperatives. And the reason, I think, just so people know, Health Imperatives also does a drug, a medication program for people in recovery. And because of their high cultural population, we felt it was a key place for us to invest in. And they have a risk management with the Department of Health right now, which we believe the 2 of them together will clearly enhance what we're able to provide in the community. And again, if you have questions, but I think the report basically tells you everything.
Is everybody? Brooke, good? Thank you again.
Yep, it's good.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Just wait for Jason to come back to his seat.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Dorothy and CRC. Okay, Sewer Department request for waiver of a town noise bylaw, March through June, 7 p.m. to 1 a.m.
You've got David Gray online to review.
Hey, David.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this. This is a repeat. We also did this last year as well to try to alleviate any traffic issues during the day, because the areas specifically this year that we're working on with these storm drains that are starting to collapse around town is on some major truck routes and some major traffic areas. So we're looking to come into work around 7 o'clock at night. Not necessarily work up till 1 a.m., but get as much as we can done back into a safe condition and ready for the next day to either concrete or pave. So this is just a continuation of what we did last year.
Any questions, comments for Dave?
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor by roll call. Don?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And Jason, aye. Thank you, David.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Okay, we're going to move on to public hearings. We'll open the public hearing to consider the Minion commercial landfill user fee schedule for fiscal year 23.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So before you have a request to amend the commercial landfill fees. We were before you last year and did raise them 6% last year. I would note for the majority of last fiscal 22 inflation, we did raise them 6%. We're recommending another 6%. Inflation has continued to be persistently high, which is increasing most, if not all, of the operational costs at the landfill. I would note that during COVID, we did the 2 years, we did not raise them, even though some costs for us certainly were increasing. We don't undertake this lightly, but costs do continue to rise at the landfill. And we feel that this is an appropriate request for an increase based on where inflation has been. I would note for fiscal 23, which is what we're in and where this would impact, the solid waste budget increased 21% on a year-over-year basis between 23 and 22. And the 24 budget that will be presented at the annual town meeting has a 10% increase in it. So costs to operate the landfill are certainly rising at an extremely fast pace. So I'm certainly happy to entertain any questions if the board has any.
Okay. Any questions? Matt?
Well, just a couple things. One is, whenever I see this, I'm voting for this, I'm in favor of this, but it makes me real, and I say this every year, we need to do this in some of the other fees too. There's a fees across this town that don't get raised for years and years and years. And this one does regularly. And I think it should, but I think others should too. And we should I would love to see that come back to us at some point. And the other point, there was Dylan Wallace was here earlier. He was going to speak. We have a tiered system for hotels and inns, and and there are some small kitchens. Has there been any talk about tiering the kitchen fee? So it's not the full amount for someone like with a smaller kitchen versus, has there been any of
Sure.
that?
There hasn't been. There has been periodic talk about going through the classes and looking at them to see if they continue to make sense the way we have it broken down.
Right.
It's certainly something I think when we have a solid waste manager in place that it would be a good idea to do. And that's something that I would commit that we could do once we
Right.
have that position. filled.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think-
want to undertake it on my own. I think it's more collaborative, but
Yeah, I do
something
too.
that
And my suggestion, we wouldn't have to change that much, but it could, could go down a little bit, I think, in fairness. So I think, but I wanted to make sure we brought his comment up because he was here and had to leave. But
Thank you, Matt. Anyone else?
move approval.
We had to close the public hearing.
Could have done first.
Second.
All those in favor to close the public hearing? Don?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Don?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, we'll open a public hearing to consider utility petition for National Grid. This is the conduit on Fairgrounds Road. Erica, do we have anybody here?
Yep, you've got Jose Vaz. Oh, where'd he go? He's been on the whole time. Is he?
He's on
I think you need to pull him in.
on the attendees.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was trying to make him a panelist. I'll just let him talk.
Hello, good evening, board.
Hey there. Go ahead, Jose.
Hi, yes, my name is Jose Vasquez from National Grid, and we're here to petition, like you said, just we're gonna have some conduit installed across the street to provide electrical service for a customer on the other side.
Any questions for Jose on this? Okay.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Anything else? Matt, do you have a
No.
question? Okay. All those in favor by roll call? Don?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Third motion?
Yeah, motion to approve with a comment that this is the affordable housing development.
Second?
Second.
Yeah, I was just making sure there weren't any conditions.
Is there any conditions?
You can just say what the departmental comments.
Can we add the motion to?
Sure.
Any, okay.
Motion to approve a subject to department comments.
Thank you. All by roll call, Don?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Jason, aye. Okay, we'll open the public hearing, consider utility petition with National Grid. This is on 60 Westchester.
Yes, good evening. Yeah, it's same kind of concept. We're gonna install conduits across the road and install a handhole on the opposite side to provide electrical power to the customers.
Any questions?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, Don?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Jason, aye. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve with departmental conditions.
Second.
All those in favor by roll call, Don?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Jason, aye. Thank you. Another public hearing to consider utility petition of National Grid. This one is Pockleville Walnut at 55 Walnut Road.
Yep, so on this one, we're actually not crossing the road. This will be on the same side of the pole, just bringing pipes to a customer's lot to feed them with a new single phase pad mounted transformer.
Okay, sounds easy enough.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor, Don?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Jason, aye. Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve. There's only one condition from the fire department.
Yep, second.
All those in favor, Don?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And Jason, aye. All right, one more public hearing. So we'll open that to consider utility petition of National Grid. This is for 23 to 25 Hummock Pond Road.
Yeah, so this petition is similar to 60 Westchester. This will be bringing pipes across the road to a handhole in the public way to feed customers.
Okay, thank you. It's a public hearing. Any comments?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor, Don?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Jason, aye. Motion?
Motion to approve with conditions.
Second.
All those in favor, Don?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Thank you, Jose, for coming on tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your time and have a great evening.
Thank you. Libby, anything you want to go over? Or
I don't have a written report tonight.
okay. All right, so we'll move right into select board reports and comments. Review adoption of select board comments for the May 6, 2023 ATM warrant article. So this is our, correct me if I'm wrong, this is our last chance to make comments. Because tomorrow it's going,
I will be
One
tomorrow
last
I'll be
edit
formatting it and then sending it to the printer.
okay. So we did meet with the finance committee and the planning board on Monday to get some clarification on things. That was good. Anything we'd like to discuss to potentially put a comment in? I have one in my head, but I want to know. The one in my head was the short-term rentals and putting something in similar to the planning board. I was going to ask you, Brooke, what you thought on suggesting not to wait and let this work group do its work. It's probably worded a little differently than that.
Yeah, I think that I believe that the short-term rental citizen warrant article got a motion. Was it to take no action or not to adopt? I'm sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head. But I would say that anything related to short-term rentals, we would want to comment that we concur with not taking action on anything in that arena.
Yeah, and that was the motion on all of those articles, which I was a little concerned that it wasn't going to be, but it was.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we should be, we should be consistent with everyone.
Yep. And I don't know whether there's a certain wording that's appropriate. This is my first time at the rodeo. So in terms of concurring with the recommendation, I'm sorry, I don't have the numbers in front of me.
I think we
It's
usually-
59. It started with Linda Williams' article. I think I'm looking it up now.
Yeah, we usually just say that something similar to the finance committee comment here. We would say the select board supports the planning board motion. Something to that effect.
Okay.
And for the public, the planning board comment, the planning board in deference to the select board and the short-term rental work group determined that articles that may be related to the short-term rental discussion should not be acted upon at this town meeting, and that all discussions should be delayed for consolidation at the already scheduled 2023 special town meeting on November 7th. And the finance committee, there's comment says they support the planning board motion.
I'm fine with repeating all that or just saying we support the planning board motion. Was everybody comfortable with that wording?
Right.
Brooke?
I'm comfortable with this, well, because they refer to us, that the select board supports the planning board motion. And that would be for Article 59, 60,
61.
61.
Brooke, are you saying that you just want to,
62.
you just want to agree with the planning board, or you want to put all of that,
Oh, no, not 62.
the wording in there?
No, I think just saying that we agree with the planning board motion is enough,
Okay.
that we concur.
Everybody fine with that?
I have mixed feelings, but I will go with the rest of you.
Yeah. Did you want to add some?
No.
Okay. So that's 59, 60, 61?
Yeah, 59 through 61.
I was kind of thinking about Article 36 about the HDC. Now that we're about to undertake and
36?
I think it's 36, about to undertake an independent review of the entire process. I didn't know. We don't have to make a comment on it, but I didn't know if you wanted to.
I have it on my list to comment. Before we go there, Article 28 on page 174 has a typo, needs finance, FIN. When you go to it. Where is it?
Oh.
Yeah, the Nance committee.
Okay.
Okay. So I didn't want
That
to.
could create some
Thank you.
confusion.
Yep.
This is why we have.
I don't want to insult the Nance committee, but
This is why we have extra eyes.
I would just comment on your comment on the HDC. I mean, we haven't officially taken on an independent review yet, so I'm sure we can comment on that. I personally have a lot of issues with how we would do that, and that's for another meeting's discussion, so.
I mean, we don't usually comment on very many.
Yeah, I mean-
so we certainly don't need to, and we can always speak at town meeting.
There are at least 6 or 7 of these articles I have a strong opinion about, but I don't think this is the place to be discussing it. People can ask me individually at some point.
But if the board agrees with you, and if, then we should, if there's something that we all agree on, if we can't agree, then maybe we don't do it. But if it's something we agree on, I think we should make, it does help a little bit.
I think these are for the public to decide, and we should let them decide.
Yeah, I think it gets tricky sometimes of when should we make a comment and when shouldn't we? I think
Yeah.
if there's things like STR, you're really clarifying, like from almost a policy position, like we're from the beginning, we've wanted to wait until this is done. So that makes sense to add that in. But if it's, imagine going through each one of these, like, oh yeah, we like this one. Oh, we don't like that one. It has to be an additive.
Yeah, because
value.
Mr. Chairman, we would be here all night.
Right.
Debating and discussing, and I'm sure we all have passionate feelings about a lot of these articles. Again, the whole purpose of a town meeting is to let the public decide. So I'm uncomfortable making a lot of comments at all. But I will, again, if the board wants to put something in, it's sort of genetic and not too supportive or not supportive, I will go with you. But otherwise, I don't think we should we should do anything.
So I agree with you, Malcolm, that, we have a platform to talk every Wednesday night, right? And town meeting is for the voters. We're also
Right.
voters, but from a select board position, I try to be quieter unless it's a major clarifying thing, like some other things that we've commented on, but it's rare when we comment. Sorry, go ahead, Brooke.
So with regard to Don's comment about Article 36, to me, it sort of falls into the same category as the short-term rental, that the select board has supported a process that is in process, and that should this article, citizen warrant article, pass, it could throw that process we've committed to in, add some chaos to it, or shift its direction. So there is a collaborative process to engage in an independent review that would probably address some of the things that seem to be brought up in this article. And so I would actually support a comment similar to the one we have for short-term rental work group, that the select board has already endorsed a process for independent review, and that we would prefer that no action be taken by town meeting until that process plays out.
I would disagree that we have not committed to a review. We've talked about a review, and we did have it on an agenda to discuss what was going to be done, but that was postponed, and we've yet to talk about it. So I don't think there's been a board decision about that review at all.
Dawn?
Yeah, that's fair. I think that we do need to bring it back for a vote, and we do have it slated to come back as soon as we can get all the right people here. So it's something we can always comment on if we are settled on it at town meeting to clarify it to the voters.
Is this advisory anyway? Like, it can't tell us what to do. Like, it can't tell Libby what to do. It'll end up being a sense of the meeting. And, I think, so even if they vote it, it's not going to stop the review. And, and clearly I think something needs to happen. It might be this or a combination of this. So I would love us to, to show, at some point, show leadership and start to help to put some of this stuff back together again. But, I'm fine.
Again, Mr. Chairman, I think I agree in a way to Matt, but I think this whole discussion, we're going to end up having debates about debating. So that's why I'm uncomfortable about the select board making any comments after a long thought.
Okay.
But I will go with the rest of you. Again, this is the people's choice, not ours, these warrants.
Thank you, Malcolm. Denise?
When we discussed this at Finance Committee, the bottom line thinking was that it would, rather than just adding an administrator, it would really benefit from an end-to-end process review of everything from, started concept all the way to execution and implementation of a building. And potentially the headcount or the additional resources needed in terms of people might not necessarily sit in this role. And so that was one of the reasons that we felt quite strongly that this was not appropriate to be handled in this way. And also during the normal town budgeting process, headcount is identified during the normal process. And with that, if there should be people added to the town payroll, it should come up through that mechanism and not as a citizens warrant article. So those were basically the essence, just for your information, has nothing to do with the comment you would possibly make or not make, but I wanted to give you that background as I am sitting here and listening to your discussion. Thank you.
Thanks, Denise. I feel like everyone is okay with not making a comment because we haven't approved it, which is on the agenda for April 5th, but it could get moved again and it could, who knows where it's going to go. So I'm okay with not making a comment.
As am I.
Okay. Good discussion. All right, we got HCC and
I
Nance.
missed Monday on 44. Was there a discussion of the off-street parking requirements? You guys talk about that on Monday now? Okay, leave it. I was just wondering what they based it on.
But Denise is here. If you had any, at least if you want to know where FinCom, their process and their discussion, you could ask Denise.
But I mean, on that, we really followed the planning board's lead in terms of they're the experts on it. So We did have discussions within the finance committee, and in the end, we understood the logic that the planning board put forward, and we supported it. So now if you ask me to quote chapter and verse on the logic of that, I'm sorry to say I am not an expert on parking.
Yeah, but the reason I'm asking, Denise, is it said the planning board motion to be provided at town meeting. And I was just, and it was going
Oh.
from one per bedroom in some areas to not applicable, or to, it was just a couple, it changed from 0.75. There was a bunch of things in there. So I'm wondering why there was no motion yet and what the discussion was that led to that, to this point.
Actually, Matt, that's a very good point. That was not the to be provided at town meeting was not the discussion we had. Because I'd have to pull out my notes quickly, but I think we supported the planning board motion, so that may have changed.
If that's changed, then we should change it on the, because both are saying to be provided at town meeting. If that's changed, let's check it, please.
Yeah. Erica, I'll check my notes. and
I
send you what
changed the
have.
finance committee comment on that because there was no planning board motion yet.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Originally, it said the finance committee supports the planning board motion, but since there wasn't one, that didn't seem right.
Oh, because they were meeting on the 13th, on the day when we had to finalize this. Is that the?
I don't know.
All right, Erica, we'll
This
take it
is
offline.
just how it came to me on Thursday.
Okay, we'll take it offline. I thought they had proposed this and adopted this when we discussed it. So this is a change from what I remember at our discussion of the planning articles on March 13th.
Are you good there, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was just trying to learn about it. I was wondering why. So let's see. Did you guys talk about 76, about outdoor lighting on Monday?
We did.
It seems to me, if I got this right, that the appeals were dropped of how to appeal it. That was about that was the main change, right?
Yeah, Denise can talk about what they did at FinCom, but
Yeah.
Really quick, they had two long discussions and they worked with the author of the article and really came to a good compromise. But Denise, you want to add anything?
And the permitting process, Matt, we also asked for the permitting process to be dropped, that you would not need to go get a special permit for installing lights, because it just became honestly administratively onerous. So we understood and acknowledged that lighting has changed since 2003 when the first bylaw was put in place. And but we felt that some of the administrative processes that would require, frankly, what we estimated to be about 2 or 3 people would be needed to enact the new bylaw. We asked for that to be dropped. And and so we had to do it. And our comment was basically restating the original article with the idea that we'd get to compromise in terms of finding something that would hopefully be in line with what the sponsor intended, and at the same time not overly burden town administration. So that was the logic of that.
Right. And did the lighting enforcement officers remain or be removed?
No, it remains. It's
Okay.
as today, right? So the Leo stays in place, and any enforcement would come on a complaint basis. So if I complain about my neighbor's lights, then that's when the lighting enforcement officer would go out and take an assessment as to whether it was an infraction or not. Like the noise, similar to noise.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm fine. That sounds good.
Anybody else? Don, no? Matt, do you have any
I'm looking it up right now. I had one.
any questions?
I think I had 104. Let me look. Yeah. Oh, it was one of the stabilization funds, and it was not to take any action. Is that because nothing's going in it? Okay, so I'm good. I'm done. Thank you.
Anything else? Any other questions? Last chance.
Does the board want to support one funding article for housing over another, just as a, or we just leave it to town meeting?
What do you think, Malcolm?
Again, if we'd really discussed it, the two options and had a debate about it, I'm uncomfortable. I think, well, obviously we have to support housing. That's a no-brainer, but unless we really talked about it and debated it one over the other, I couldn't comment or vote one way.
You're talking about Arthur Reed's comment, Arthur Reed's article versus the other articles that are there. Is that?
Yeah. Yeah. So we did discuss this as part of the budget process and approval. Whether the pros and cons of the two different articles related to funding housing. And I just didn't know whether we wanted to reinforce the town administration's commitment to the $6.5 million override versus the stabilization fund presented by a citizen.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, through Brooke, I apologize. I stand corrected. We did discuss it.
Yeah.
What numbers are these, Brooke?
104 is the stabilization fund. And I mean, I would support saying that we agree with the finance committee to take no action.
I mean, we did.
It's detrimental to the budget.
Which one?
Stabilization.
104. Oh, no, it's not 104.
No, it's.
I'm reading stabilization fund. Which,
Yeah,
Oh,
but
we're in the wrong one.
You'll have
But
to do a
but it
search.
is, it's a
Erica.
housing stabilization fund. What number
Correct.
is that?
I'm not sure. what
It's,
number
I think it was Article
Arthur Reed article
39.
is.
Okay, it's back.
That we did talk about and debate and conclude with the 6.5. That's public record
Yes.
of our opinion.
It's before zone.
No, it's not 39.
There you go.
35.
35.
I would be comfortable saying that we support that in favor of the override.
I concur.
How would you like to word it? Just as simple as that?
That the select board supports the
Reference
finance committee.
The override article.
Committee motion.
So John, do you want to try to put it together?
What's the other article number for the 6.5?
Probably at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't.
It could say something like the select board has has appropriated $6.5 million for housing and understands the importance and, but we don't support this. It has to explain it a little more than I think than just moved on to adopt.
Well, I was just going to say that we support the finance committee's motion not to adopt in favor of, do you say Article 14?
18.
18, the article, Article 18 override.
Yep.
That's fine. I do that. I agree with that.
Yep. I like that.
I'm in favor as well. Erica, are you okay with the wording? Malcolm?
Yeah, I don't want to argue against myself, but that is one specific area where we did comment, vote, debate, and it made a public vote. So we've already told the public we're in favor of that.
I would also add it's our number one strategic plan.
Absolutely.
So it falls in line with our number one policy initiative.
I do think people do look to us for direction because we spend a lot more time than most of the people in the public on this. And I think I think it is important, to give them that direction sometimes. So I think this is good.
And I think in this case, it is our and town administration's responsibility to fund housing in the way that's the most fiscally responsive to the town. And I think we had a good, robust conversation about that and came to that conclusion. So reiterating it, I think, is of value. Maybe to clarify, people who wouldn't understand it at the level that we are required to understand the impact of the two options. So I think it's important for us to reiterate it.
Okay. Good discussion there. Anything else? Any other items, Brooke?
Nothing from me. Thank you.
Just clarification, are you only commenting on Article 35 or do you want to comment on Article 18 as well? That you are in favor of the override?
I think we should comment on 18.
Yeah.
It's coming up first. It should just be clear that it's noted in both places.
What would you like to say on 18? Do you just want to support the Finance Committee
Yes.
motion? Okay.
Do we want to be more? Do we want to say more than that?
Do you want to mention that it's our #1 strategic goal is to support housing initiatives?
In the interest of providing a revenue stream for the select board's #1 strategic goal? Or a funding stream or something along those lines?
I don't know. I hear that and I worry it's going to give people a chance to say no. Like, don't give those guys that money. So I don't know.
I'm okay with supporting the Finance Committee motion unless we can spend some time and
I mean,
pick the right words.
we can, I'm sure that at least one of us is going to speak on this article.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do leave some of it to that, actually.
If it's called.
Making speeches, if they're called. Just support.
Just the
Yes.
supporting the Finance Committee
Yeah.
motion.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Any other articles?
I'm good.
Okay, Brooks, good. Don?
Yep.
Malcolm? Okay. Off to the press as it goes in a few days. Any other, any committee reports or any comments?
We had a CPC meeting on Tuesday, but it's just the general monthly meeting. Releasing funds for the different projects.
Anyone else? Brooke, Matt? No?
Nope.
Don?
I think we, should say something about the 2-hour workshop we had last night with Arcadis and the Conservation Commission. And just the fact that I found it very collaborative and that I was really encouraged by how thoughtful everyone involved was and how we're going to continue that process.
And we're going to meet again on what, the 11th, April 11th.
So we're progressing towards trying to find common ground and solve the coastal resilience issue at Baxter Road.
I agree. It was a very collaborative environment. And the facilitators said, so we split up in 3 groups and looked at 3 different scenarios, and they said that they couldn't tell who was on Concom and who was on Select Board. So that kind of surprised me. Even if they were embellishing a little bit, I think it was probably true.
No, I agree.
Because in my group, you couldn't really tell who was what. And they usually don't find that in facilitations similar to this. So I thought that was very positive.
I loved the opportunity to be brainstorming together as in our small groups mixed between Select Board and Concom and just the way the process played out, that we were able to sort of ask each other what we meant by the sticky note we were putting on the board, and it really led to some great dialogue and finding of more common ground than I think probably people would have anticipated.
Anything else on that?
Yeah, that process, that when we did the comprehensive plan, a million years ago, back in the 90s or so, that was the best things that we did in the planning, was include the public, sort of do consensus building, especially on the more contentious topics. And I think that's, I've talked about it before. I think that's a really important way to get, to find that consensus. You're not going to find it by sending out a, what do you call it? What do we ask? Survey. Thank you. Whew, I'm getting old. No, you're not going to find it with just a survey. You're not going to find it. People get too polarized. That process allows people to speak and explain themselves and still agree or not agree, but you find that there's more agreement. And I think we just need to do more of it, especially on the more contentious topics. And I know it's hard to do it. It's hard to find the time, for the committees. It's hard for the staff, et cetera, but it really should be part of our planning process through the town. And it was, every time I do it, I'm reminded of how important it is.
So, Jason, if I may.
Yeah.
I want to reiterate what Matt's saying, and I think it is helpful as a board to try our best to anticipate the things that are going to get contentious, because when you think about time, if you build consensus up front, you save time and money in the process. And so it's a good investment up front as far ahead of the curve on things that could get contentious. And I think we should be thinking about it more across the board in governance to do more consensus building.
Thank you, Brooke. Thanks for bringing it up, Don. Any last comments? Okay. So
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
A roll call. Don?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Jason, aye. Thank you, everyone.
Got
Thanks,
some
guys.
stuff to sign.
It's coming your